So right now, the latest is there are 1,500 Americans left in Kabul, unable to get to the airport. Right now, there's an alert from, I believe, from the British saying they're expecting a bomber. They have intel that says there may be a suicide bomb in a car or strapped to somebody's chest at the airport. So they're telling everyone get away from the airport. So things are going well in Kabul. But the thing that really got my attention when I was reading about the Americans, just trying to figure out who they are and where they are. And as we said yesterday, are they up in the mountains? Are they unable to leave their home because they're afraid if they step outside, the Taliban will, cut their head off or something? Like what has forced these Americans to still be there? Like, why are they still there? Why we've seen planes leave. Hell, there's one plane. There's a photo, kind of a disturbing photo of a big passenger jet that holds 345 people, and there are 5 people on it. So obviously the evacuation is not going perfectly anymore. I mean, the administration's bragging about it, the greatest surrender in American history. Look at us. We're running, cutting and running like nobody ever has. Aren't we wonderful? But we'll get to that. I got to ask you, Carano, a question, because you're younger than I, and maybe you had more benefits and as a child. But I'm trying to think of the best trip I took as a school kid. New England Aquarium, we went one day on a field trip. I remember that. Benson's Wild Animal Farm. I don't even know if it ever exists, but we went and fed the goats when I was a kid. Maybe I missed the chance. Maybe I didn't sign up for the trip to Kabul when I was in high school, but there are 24 high school kids from California trapped in Kabul. And parents, there are 16 parents and 24 kids from a high school. I'll get you the high school. It's called Cajun Valley in El Cajon, California. The Cajun Valley Union School District. 20, I believe it's 24 students, 16 parents, and this is straight from the story in The Hill. It's out there. They visited Afghanistan on summer vacation, and now they're among the thousands of people stranded. I know I'm old. I haven't been in high school for quite a while, but is this a thing? High school kids go to Afghanistan
no, that's
summer vacation.
Why would you ever bring kids to a hot zone? When I was in high school, it was club based. So the French team or the French club would maybe do a week in France, or I was in the band and music, and we had a good music department. So I would go.
Band ever take any trips?
Yeah. So we would do competitions all over the place. I think the furthest away that we went was probably Washington D.C. We went to Toronto once, but it was all. But Afghanistan? Why would you send your kids? It's still a hot zone. Why would you send your kids there? Gerry, just want to say I do have Turtleboy out back. Should I bring him in as well?
Turtleboy's going to join us. Maybe he's taking a trip to Afghanistan. He was a teacher. Maybe he chaperoned the kids. But how do you not? What compels you to take a trip to Afghanistan on summer vacation? That sounds awful. You live in California. You leave California to go to Afghanistan, to go to Kabul, and B, how do you not? How are they unable to get out? I mean, they all have passports. They're Americans. How are they not able to get on one of these planes that has like 1 million empty seats? This is mind-boggling. But what if they don't get out by the 31st? What if they're stuck there? High school kids. How are they not getting all the attention? How are they not on camera on Fox and Friends telling their story? It just seems like one of those stories that every news outlet would be jumping on. And it sounds like a little bit of a emergency. We got 24 high school kids stuck in Kabul. Did you ever do that when you were a teacher, Turtleboy? Take trips to Kabul for summer vacation?
No, I think we did some work at the soup kitchen one time. That's about it. Yeah, some volunteer work here and there. I don't think we ever went to Kabul. We never made it that far. We couldn't even get to New York. They wouldn't even approve a field trip to New York.
I never took a field trip that was beyond the school hours, like overnight. I don't remember anybody in the school. I mean, maybe they did and no one signed up. I can't imagine wanting to do that. Wanting. I mean, you see the video from Kabul. I mean, that's one of those places where you say,
actually, Jerry, they did have they went on a field trip to Morocco. I shit you not. It was a very worldly.
Your school?
I didn't go, but yeah, our school went. There was a foreign language trip every year. They went to Red China once. They never did Afghanistan though.
It's one of those places, and we've been looking at video from Afghanistan for 20 years. You say, I will die without ever having gone there, and that's okay. I don't have any desire to go to like Southeast Asia or really the Middle East. And it's not about terrorism. It's just like, it doesn't look like fun. It doesn't look relaxing. There are other places.
It looks hot. It looks really hot.
It looks hot and crowded. It's like when you see like video from like Tokyo. I could die without ever having gone to Tokyo. I don't need to go somewhere more crowded and more with more traffic and congestion and you're right, heat.
Like, is there a sandals in Afghanistan?
I don't believe so. I don't believe there's no ocean. It's just this landlocked hellhole. And every time I look at the map, I was just looking at the map this morning. I'm like, I know the strategic value of it. It's near China. It's next to Iran. We had this big air base right next to Iran if we ever had to go to war. But it's surrounded by other hellholes, Turkmenistan,
all the stands, but all the stands,
Tajikistan, Pakistan, all these awful places that you'd never want to go. Again, it's not on the ocean, so you can't like pull up an aircraft carrier. It does look like a very strategic location, which is why some of the people who are against withdrawing are pointing out why we really could have used Bagram Air Base for forever. Just stay there, leave 2,000, 2,500 soldiers and Marines there, and just let Taliban can have the country, but they can't have Bagram. I don't know why we couldn't have done that. I've always been for getting the hell out of that country. So I'm all for getting out. We know that the Biden administration has bungled it beyond belief. And as I pointed out today, we have a security alert that there may be a suicide bomber on his way to the airport. We have 24 high school kids stranded. And we have a commander in chief that when he wakes up in the morning, he thinks of new ways to humiliate this country and humiliate himself. If you didn't see it yesterday, he did a little not even press conferences, there were statements that he makes and talked about the G7 meeting he had, the Zoom meeting with the other G7 leaders, and a reporter, I believe it was Peter Alexander, shouted a question to him about what if you can't get all the Americans out or whatever, the perfectly appropriate, necessary question. And he joked and said, I'll call you first. Not really a funny joke or anything, just a dumb thing that the president said. And then you know what happened, Turtleboy?
Ice cream?
This is before the ice cream, but he was a little anxious because he knew they were getting 2 scoops and they were getting his favorite chocolate chip. Someone else, obviously the media was there. They have questions. Obviously, everything Biden talks about is there to distract. Talking about the G7, talking about COVID or voting rights, it's all to distract from the disaster of his making in Afghanistan. But so I believe someone else was ready to ask a question. They cut off the mic. They cut off the mic of the leader of the free world. Somebody, I'm not sure who, maybe it was Dr. Jill. The guy is the president. Can you imagine someone doing that to Donald Trump? The president of the United States, they were afraid would say something else stupid. So they said, cut the mic, get the media out. When he says nothing, it's embarrassing. When he says something, it's embarrassing. He cannot step in front of the microphone, in front of the cameras, without humiliating himself, his administration, and the whole damn country.
No one's even denying his cognitive decline either, left or right. Like there's no.
They are a little bit.
Are you? I don't see it. Maybe I'm following the wrong people, but on Twitter I see like
you don't hear. No, Corrado's right. You don't hear someone make the case that he's A-OK. Like when they asked Chris Wallace asked Blinken, does he know what's going on? And Blinken said it's a very emotional time. What? They don't really defend him, Turtleboy. They don't really make a case for Joe Biden still being lucid because
Well, they argue the negative. They'll say, "Well, do you have any proof? Are you a doctor?" That's the one I get. Are you a doctor? Do you know he has dementia?
Well, Ronnie Jackson's a doctor, and he says he has dementia, and he was a doctor for the last two presidents.
He's a Trump doctor. He also said Trump is in excellent physical shape.
No, he said he wasn't obese. He was 1 pound short. Obese.
Right.
Well,
okay.
Don't you think Trump was in great mental shape compared to the guy we have in the Oval Office now?
He's part of Mensa compared to this guy.
I mean, yes, but I would say that Trump is not mentally all there either. I think he's kind of insane, don't you? He really believes that this election, that there was like millions and millions. I mean, we all know there was some shenanigans, but Trump is quite convinced that he is actually the president.
Well, I you know what kind of ego he has, and obviously he's a narcissist. But if he believes they stole this from him, and he's watching what Biden is doing, I could see just the frustration boiling over daily. I wouldn't want to be around him. I mean, he must be so frustrated knowing that there were, as you said, shenanigans, knowing that big tech rigged the whole thing, buried the laptop story, did it what they could, to stop him, made up lies about him, bounties on American soldiers in Afghanistan, on him calling veterans or soldiers suckers and losers. They made up lie after lie. The big tech and big media carried the water for Biden while Biden hid in the basement. The whole thing adds up to me to a very frustrating realization for Trump when he wakes up in the morning. He looks at this and said, I should be president. We shouldn't be doing what we're doing in Kabul. We shouldn't have, an open border in Texas. He knows he would have done this. Everyone knows he would have done this differently. Everyone knows he would have done this better. I mean, nobody thinks he would have taken the soldiers out of Afghanistan before the civilians. I mean, who would? Who thought that was a good idea? That's, I don't know who's going to write the book. Like I said, there'll be one of those Bob Woodward types. Even though they're on Biden's side, there is a great story here on why the president decided to order the biggest foreign policy disaster in American history. Why that seemed like a good idea to him or anyone else.
I mean, so did you see the latest poll from USA Today that he's down 14% in disapproval rating?
I'm sure I did. I don't really retain the polls like you do, but
yeah, I'm a poll guy, Joe.
You're a poll guy, right?
Yeah, I love chaos because it obviously helps us, and that's all I'm thinking. Like the only way we are going to take back the White House, and if we have any shot at the Senate in 2022, which is a long shot, we just need chaos. We need absolute chaos. And I would argue this is going fairly well at this point. And so I think it's going to get even crazier when school starts with the masks because there's no science in any of this. And this is what he keeps falling back on. This is like his trump card. Like, oh, it's okay. I'm masking your children. See, I'm good. See, who cares about Afghanistan? I'm forcing a mask on your 5-year-old. I'm the grown-ups are here now.
Right.
Hey, Joe.
And you couldn't have the smartest, pediatrician or epidemiologist explain to you why kids should be masked at school or why people should be masked outdoors. They don't know. They just decided it looks good. It makes them look like they're in control.
Like Tucker said last night, Kate Brown's bisexual, so that's all that matters.
That's right. That's right. The governor of Oregon ordered everyone masked up outdoors. Now there's zero science to that, just the opposite. It's not good for you to block your breathing passages. It's not good. It's certainly not good for children. It screws them up, but they don't care. I'm with you. That's another winning issue. It shows you what kind of authoritarians these people are at their core. They're ordering things that aren't supported by science, but they're doing it anyway because it's their way of virtue signaling. Look at me. I am more concerned about this virus than you are. And they don't have the slightest libertarian, inclination in their body. Like as Arnold Schwarzenegger said, or Fauci said, screw your freedoms. They don't, the idea that you have freedoms is just foreign to them. The idea that you should have the right to decide for yourself, that never enters their thought process. It's like big news out of Australia, you guys. I don't know if you saw it this morning or today. Australia said if you're vaccinated, they're going to allow you 1 hour outdoors, 1 hour to go outside and take a walk.
It's like solitaire.
Yeah, it's pretty
And they're,
gracious.
and they're complying, Jerry. Look at the poll numbers out of New Zealand and stuff like that. People are liking the lockdown there. It's bizarre. They actually like to be controlled. What a horrible. I thought they were a fun country where they wrestled crocodiles and boxed kangaroos and did whatever they want. And it was fun and laid back and cool. No, they're just a bunch of Nazis. Like, that's all they are. Like, I mean, I'm so disappointed. As bad as we have it, I mean, where is a freer place in the world? What country?
Well, it's bizarre now. Australia and New Zealand are complying and submitting and bowing before their supreme leaders, and in France and Germany, they're taken to the streets and protesting. There's a great protest today in France. If you haven't seen the video yet,
Outside,
sitting. So they ordered vaccine mandates for all restaurants. Can't get in restaurants without your papers. This is Paris, I believe, or Nice. So what the people did was all had like picnics, had brought their own food, sat on the sidewalk outside all the restaurants and ate. The restaurants that wouldn't allow them in without their papers. So they're revolting. They're rising up in some places. But you're right. The video from Australia, that news report we talked about the other day, where they're like busting 16-year-old kids who are outside, not doing anything. They're just outside. You're not allowed outside.
Did you see the rugby player that they're like, so he lives in Sydney and the cops pulled him over like an hour west of there or something like that. And they said, what are you doing here? And he said, I was moving. But then it was determined that he was visiting friends. So he said he'd go back to Sydney, but then his GPS tracked him still going west. So now he's going to be under arrest. This perfectly healthy rugby player. He's like 25 years old, jacked, probably has 3% body fat. Right. And they're like, you, sir, must quarantine because the virus might get you.
This is the problem with allowing the rise of the surveillance state, which happened towards the mid 2000s. Is now the government has the ability and the authority to track us wherever we go, and so they can do things like that. If they want to set their sights on you, they can find you now, and they can do stuff. They can take you away. We saw the guy who was taken, who tested positive for COVID, and put into health isolation at this. They said that COVID camp.
It's a camp.
It's stealing.
Are they still chasing the guy who sneezed in the elevator by himself? They said he's on the run.
They said he's the worst of the worst, Jerry.
That's right. The worst of the worst.
The worst of the worst.
And they gave up their guns a few years ago. Now they're giving up their freedoms. But the thing that amazes me is I understand if you're going to make a case, here's what we have to do to stop a virus, by the way, which had no deaths. New Zealand had no deaths, one case. Australia has like 4 deaths in the last, 4 deaths a week. I mean, in a country of 25 million, it's madness. But the idea that this is and again, people make the case they're these authoritarians and that's their tendency. But when people say, sure, let's do it, without thinking that it's a really bad trend to say, give up all your freedoms because maybe it would stop people from getting the flu. It's just madness. And it's amazing how many people
they want zero. Well, here's okay. So I don't want to argue for them, but this is what they'll say in New Zealand, Jerry, is that they're going for zero COVID there. So they're like literally eliminate. So for a while they had no virus in New Zealand. So they've been having rock concerts and all this stuff with no masks because they've completely cut off immigration. And so they've figured out a way to literally have no COVID. And they like that for whatever reason.
But they can't do that, though, unless they also, not just immigration, but then they can't allow flights to and from because testing isn't sophisticated enough. The vaccinations aren't preventing people from spreading COVID. So they have to completely isolate. If they want to do that, then maybe they can go zero COVID.
But that's what they've been doing. They've cut off immigration completely in New Zealand. This is my understanding of it. People that come in and out of the country must quarantine and test. It's like required to get in. I assume you have to be vaccinated to even leave the country or get into the country. So if you really want to go full, isolationist, they could do it. But that's a conservative thing. That's what these people understand. These liberals are like, yeah, we can have zero COVID if we just completely cut off immigration into our country, which is like a hallmark of the Democratic Party.
And it's going to get worse because COVID's not going away. There's no such thing as zero COVID. And the strategy is, if you're in this country, a Democrat, is to convince people that cases a real problem. Oh, the spike in cases. Look what happened in Florida. We get cases. And
Oh,
we've been
no.
saying it, we've been going over the numbers for a year and a half now. The cases are irrelevant, especially after the vaccinations. The stat that matters is deaths per million in Florida is still way down. It's still, hey, I was going to check this.
They're catching up, though. They're catching up.
Did New York jump ahead of New Jersey when that new governor Hochul came in and said, Cuomo lied? There's 12,000 more deaths in nursing homes. It's amazing. The first day in office, she comes in and says, you know what? And she was a lieutenant governor. She says, you know what? That scumbag was lying to you. There's 12,000 more deaths than he reported in nursing homes. We already knew that he killed at least 15,000 seniors. And now we add 12,000 to that. New Jersey was number 1. New York was number 2. Massachusetts was number 3 last I checked, but I'll have to check this again and see if New York, that's quite a bump. That's like going 5 for 5 in a batting race in September. I mean, you're going to make a big jump, 12,000 more deaths. But that's how it's going for Cuomo. He leaves office, they take his Emmy away, and they change the numbers and say, you know what? He actually killed a lot more people than he said.
Oops.
But I will check the numbers and see how we're doing. I want to get to the NFL because there was a really interesting piece on an Outkick by Armando Seguero, who's not new guy, NFL guy with Outkick, and he points out essentially, and other people have kind of said the same thing, that Cam Newton lost the job. He was in a QB duel with rookie Mac Jones in New England, and he was the favorite because everyone thought that Belichick was going to give the job to Newton and wait until he stumbles and sucks and then go to Mac Jones. It's just easier to do that than go start the rookie, and if the rookie struggles, go to the veteran. It just made more sense, and by all accounts, Cam Newton was he was a great teammate. He was mentoring, helping Mac Jones, and it was just going to play out that way. But then Cam Newton made the mistake of leaving town and getting the wrong kind of test, the wrong kind of COVID test. He tested negative. He's never, he had the virus last year. He obviously has natural immunity. He doesn't want to get the vaccine because he doesn't feel like he needs it. Makes perfect sense, as you point out. He's in great shape. He's young. He's healthy. Somebody maybe is advising him and saying, you don't need the vaccine. So he said, no, I'm not going to get it. And because of this obscure rule, he can't practice, or he couldn't practice this week in those joint practices with the New York Giants, and Mac Jones could. Mac Jones took advantage of it, went out, had like a couple of great practices by all accounts. Is
Mac Jones vaccinated? I've heard conflicting stories on that too.
Yes, well, that's a good question, but I believe he is because he doesn't have a mask on the sidelines. But Cam Newton didn't, test positive. I mean, he didn't.
He's a healthy male. Like what are we doing?
He's a healthy male.
Why can't he be out there? It's absolutely insane. And I told you, I mean, why aren't we playing the race card more? This is why we lose, because they're better at this stuff. Cam Newton is being segregated, Jerry. That's the correct terminology. We need to be. He's being segregated. The black quarterback has to sit on the other side of the bus. He has to go to the other side of the meeting. He can't come out at the same time. He has to put a mask on. There's different rules for the black quarterback than there is for the white quarterback.
So here's the actual rule from the NFL. So unvaccinated players must quarantine for 5 days if in close contact with someone who would tested positive for COVID. But player who's vaccinated does not have to quarantine.
Oh, I thought the vaccine works. That's okay.
But if you're vaccinated and you test positive, see if I have this right. It's so bizarre that if you're
So if
if a healthy unvaccinated player must remain away from the team for 5 days,
right? If
he violates the protocol, an ailing vaccinated trainer or coach, a guy who's sick with the COVID, has to stay away for 2 days.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Doesn't make sense. You know what the other rule is? You can't, if you're a reporter, if you're a reporter.
Oh, this is unbelievable. Yeah, this is good.
You have to wear masks even if you're on a Zoom call. Wait, what are we doing?
Why? So who? This is all Goodell. This is all his doing. Are the owners signed on to this, or
This is the NFLPA and the NFL, negotiating basically.
This is unvaccinated reporters. So say a reporter again is 25 years old and he's healthy and he's had the virus and he feels good and doesn't want according to this deal that the league and the Players Association made with the Writers Association, unvaccinated reporters have to wear masks outside when they are on club facility grounds. They cannot participate in press conferences. They cannot enter the press box, and they cannot ask questions on Zoom calls. So if you're sitting at your laptop hundreds of miles away, you can't ask a question on a Zoom conference because why? Because they're punishing you. That's why they
this whole thing. Everything you're seeing now, literally everything you're seeing, is just them trying to coerce you to get the vaccine. They can't force you to do it, but they are doing everything in their power. Why do you think they're making kids wear masks in school right now? So that they get vaccinated. Because the carrot at the end of the stick is allegedly that if enough kids in the school get vaccinated, then you don't have to wear the mask anymore. They're encouraging private businesses to do that. Joe Biden knows I can't force you to take a vaccine, but I can do everything in my power to get corporations to do my dirty work for me, and that includes the NFL.
And then Cam Newton lost the job. Essentially, he lost the starting quarterback job because he whatever. I don't even know. Understand exactly what he did. Got the wrong kind of test while traveling away from the facility, even though he tested negative. As Seguro points out, even though Newton did nothing wrong, didn't test negative, didn't go to a crowded bar, didn't go like LeBron James, go to some big party against the rules. He says the NFLPA protocols opened the door for Mac Jones to win the job because of their rules, of their insane rules that Cam Newton, who tested negative and doesn't have COVID, couldn't practice.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that he was in close proximity, whatever that is, to someone else who had tested positive, but he has not tested positive.
That's the first. What?
That's it. That's it.
Who's the person he was in close proximity?
No, I read that. I thought it was in the same Outkick article, but maybe
he says Cam Newton did not test positive. He's not sick, nor is he contagious. His grand crime under the NFLPA protocol is being unvaccinated.
So is this pressure going to work? Is this pressure going to work? Because clearly the goal here is to punish people like Cam Newton into getting the vaccine, make their life difficult and impossible. Will people like him start to cave? That's the question.
Yes. I mean, there will be some holdouts, and for some freaking reason, we still don't know if Tom Brady's a holdout. But there will be some holdouts, and they will punish them, and they will make their life difficult, and they'll eventually say, just give me the jab. And what happens then if there's some side effect? Like there's a big story today about a presenter, a news presenter, I believe in England, a woman who died. Her side effect was a heart attack. She died after getting vaccinated. What if there's what if that happens to Cam Newton decides I have to get vaccinated, even though I've already had COVID, even though I have natural immunity, and there's some real bad side effect? Then you got, I don't know, then you have a big time lawsuit. You got a big story on your hands, but it's going to be funny because we all get to see if they follow the rules, like if the player's unvaccinated, he has to wear a mask on the sideline. If he's vaccinated, he doesn't. So any player wearing a mask is unvaccinated, right? They out themselves, and then we all get to point and ostracize them and say, shame, you don't care. You don't care about my health, which is, something we've been talking about.
I don't care about your health. It's perfectly clear, but go ahead.
But it's amazing that this has been going on since January, and nobody can really explain it to us, that if you're vaccinated and vaccines work, why do you care what I do? Why do you care if I'm masked up? Why do you care if I'm vaccinated? Nobody can really explain that.
Delta variant, long COVID, breakthroughs. They got a whole list, Gerry. They just go through the same freaking list every single time.
So the other example in this article was Cole Beasley, right? So he tested negative for the virus, but he was forced to stop practicing because he was around a vaccinated trainer who then tested positive.
So the vaccinated trainer, I believe, can come back sooner than
Yes.
the unvaccinated player. The vaccinated trainer is sick.
Today.
The
Yes.
unvaccinated player is not.
Yes.
The unvaccinated player has to stay away. How long is Beasley away? 6 days, 7 days?
I thought it was 5 days, but I could
5
be.
days. And the
so.
vaccinated trainer who is sick gets to come back in 2 days, I believe.
So here's the question: is Belichick frustrated with Cam Newton?
Yes.
You think so? You think
yes.
You think Bill wants him to just get vaccinated?
I think every coach places their team above everything. They just take the friggin' shot and get back to practice. There's some coaches have come out flat out. You saw Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. He's very frustrated because I believe his quarterback, members, all his quarterbacks were quarantined. He had no quarterbacks one day because they were.
Kirk Cousins ain't getting vaccinated. He's
Kirk Cousins flat out said he wasn't getting vaccinated. I think in Tampa they don't name the unvaccinated, but the coach Bruce Arians came out and he doesn't understand why. He's very frustrated why anyone would not get vaccinated. You know what it's like. These guys don't care if people are dying or we don't know the long-term effects of vaccinations. They want their team. They want to eliminate the distractions and focus on football. Of course, they want everyone vaccinated. They wouldn't care if it meant these guys all drop dead and 10 years of heart attacks. They don't care. They want their team. They want everything.
Maybe if people like Bill Belichick, who's obviously conservative, he voted for Donald Trump. Maybe if they actually had a pair of balls and stood up to the NFL, an influential person like Bill Belichick and other people like him and Tom Brady actually stood up and said, nah, we're not going to do this, so that the Cole Beasleys of the world and the mediocre players like Cam Newton don't have to do it all by themselves. Maybe the people with actual influence should stand up to this nonsense. Maybe they should try that.
The problem is that Belichick has the reputation for that. He could do that because he's just been in the league so long. He's won forever. But other coaches who don't have that sort of cash, they can't because so much of their job is based on wins and losses. And if anything affects their rosters, because if it's COVID, of course they're going to be frustrated at the players.
Tom Brady can't. Guy had hopes at first when Jalen Ramsey and DeAndre Hopkins both spoke out against it. Those are superstars. We need superstars. We can't have the Cole Beasleys doing the dirty work. You can cut Cole Beasley, but we need this. We need the Stefan Diggs and the people like that to come out and say, no, enough is enough.
But the problem is, you're not just challenging the league, the union. You're challenging the media and you're challenging the system, man. If even if it was Belichick or Brady or whoever, they would get just destroyed by the media. You saw what happened.
No, not destroyed by the media. Who cares?
The media loved Cam Newton until they found out he was unvaccinated. Then it was like, oh, this guy's trouble. Let's give the job to the rookie. The guys don't want to do that. They don't want to become the public enemy. They don't want to be the villain here. They have their reasons. Cole Beasley has stated them. He wants, like he said, I want more information. I want to know about side effects. And the media doesn't have no tolerance for that. We don't want any balance. We don't want information coming from both sides. You are to submit back to this compliance, this submission that people just fall in line and say, just here, give me the jab, just tell me where and when and I'll take it. They don't want any info. They don't want to hear from these dissenters. Those people are on this is a epidemic. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. You know that, right, Turtleboy?
I've heard, they haven't been saying that for a while. That was their line for a while.
It's your fault. It is the unvaccinated, and that's why we're not going to allow you to eat in restaurants. We're not going to allow you to fly on planes. We're going to put you on the no-fly list if you don't get the jab, and then get the booster. You're going to be on no-fly lists. You can't go anywhere. Can't go into stores. And if that doesn't work, what do you think the next step is for people like de Blasio, tyrants like Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom? They're sitting right now thinking of more ways they can, like they do with people like you, outlaws. They kick you off PayPal and kick you off Twitter. They're going to say, what else can we do? Oh yeah, how about big tech? Big tech gets involved and says you can't be on Facebook or Twitter if you're not vaccinated.
No, you laugh, but we're really not far from that at all. Not at all.
I'm not. Well, I guess I'm chuckling a little bit, but they're not. I mean, we still have
Team Taliban. The Team Taliban has no mask mandate, Jerry. They're making themselves more appealing by the day.
Yes,
women,
they do.
for the
Women and girls have to be masked up. They have to be masked up, and if you don't comply, they will shoot you. Which they're looking at that. Australia and New Zealand and California looking at that, saying, "Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea." I mean, every society has their strengths and weaknesses, and their good ideas. Taliban, not such a bad idea. If you don't mask up, we kill you, and that's coming to.
Well, speaking of though, here's the next question with all this like masks and shit. If and I tweeted this out yesterday. Riddle me this: if the COVID is a deadly thing, like a bullet, it can kill you, right? And the mask prevents it. If a kid takes a mask off in school, shouldn't they be punished the same as a kid that brings a loaded weapon to school, since
Yes.
they could effectively be killing you?
Yes. We've heard from school board members who say you're a murderer
Yes.
if you're not masked up at school.
So
yes.
There should be no tolerance. The second any kid takes a mask off at school, they should be expelled, because that's what would happen if you brought a loaded gun to school. But they're not going to be, because they know damn well that it's not actually deadly, that it's not scary. It's just such nonsense. We have our school orientation today. We're going to see the first grade today, and I'm going in there, and they're going to make us wear a mask. So I'm not going to wear one, and they're going to make them give me one. The second I get it, I'm taking it off as soon as I get in there. And they can yell at me again. I don't care.
Turtleboy, actually, the COVID is worse than the loaded weapon, because at least with a loaded weapon, you have to pull the trigger. I mean, you could just give COVID to anybody without doing anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You could only you only have so many bullets when you have a loaded weapon with a COVID. You can kill everybody, kill the whole school, because God knows children are dropping. The ICUs are full of children. I don't know if you heard, but children are dropping like flies now from COVID. Haven't you heard? You haven't heard?
For sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that one kid. There was that fat kid in Georgia breathing on a ventilator. Yeah. They keep showing him and exploiting his death and not telling us the whole story about him. But that's all you see is like these, like, oh, did you hear? Here's a link from some kid in Louisiana that we're not going to give you the whole background on him. He's dead. We have to mask our children because this kid in Louisiana is on a ventilator. Oh, shut up.
And I tweeted about, there was a story of a woman who was unvaccinated. She's struggling. She's in the hospital. And she said, I should have got vaccinated. And then they show her that she's literally 400 pounds.
Yeah, you should have not got fat. That's what you shouldn't have done. Enough of that. I'm so sick of this. What an unserious country. Your boy, Bill Maher, had another great rant about fat people this weekend, Jerry.
I know, and you're not, most people aren't, you're not allowed to talk about that. I mean, I just tweeted that in reaction to this virus, just a reminder, we closed all the gyms, we banned sports, children running in the playground, and we left McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King open. And now we have 400-pound people who are dying unvaccinated. And we're saying, gee, why didn't we just get the vaccine? Well, gee, why didn't you just stop eating? It's amazing that we're not allowed to say that. I tweeted it.
Have you ever heard Dr. Fauci once say that? Go exercise.
You haven't heard Fauci say it. Not Biden would never say it. You won't hear, De Blasio or Whitmer.
Michelle Obama said it. Can we bring her back? That was her thing. Go exercise.
Hey, let's not go. Let's not go overboard here. We don't need to bring her back. By the way,
she would do better than Joe Biden. At least she'd tell you to get off your ass and go exercise.
Yeah, and should take away any food that you want to eat and give you some, carrots and some arugula. But it is amazing. It every time you see a picture of a young person who is dying or struggling or on a ventilator, they're rather large, but you can't point that out because fat shaming is not allowed. You can shame the unvaccinated. You can shame them all day, or people, anti-maskers, but you can't shame the overweight people. But hey, we got a lot to get to, and I knew we'd get caught up in this because Turtleboy is going to you're leading the resistance again today, huh? You're going to be probably making the news because they're going to kick you out, probably kick your kid out. Maybe they'll arrest you.
The only one. I got a message today say that the schools have requested police presence on the first day of school in anticipation of anti-mask protesters. Wow. And the town has refused them. They've told them straight up, no, this is your problem. You wanted masks, you enforce it. This is not against the law. You're not going to use police resources on your games.
Oh, good.
Game on.
Good. You're going to be tweeting, live tweeting?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I don't want to get.
We got to get to this Rachel Nichols story because it is just when you think ESPN has just gone fully woke, insane, crazy, they go to another level. If you miss this, I don't think anybody, any organization, any outfit, anyone in the media is as just crazy woke as ESPN. if you missed it the other day, Stephen A. Smith forced Max Kellerman off of First Take because he didn't like Max, and he's a powerful guy. And as Bobby Burrick asked on Outkick, he said, "Do you think any white people will ever be allowed on that show again?" And I have my doubts. I mean, Stephen A. wants who he wants, and it's going to be just a rotation of super wokesters, and talking every day about how whatever it's racist because Tim Tebow got a tryout with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's going to be kind of a running theme. Everybody's racist, and it won't make any sense. There won't be any great debate, but that's how it will work. Colin Kaepernick's been blackballed. Tim Tebow gets an opportunity because he's white. Anyway, the Rachel Nichols story is amazing because she did nothing. She did nothing. Literally, she did nothing. I mean, they leaked a private conversation she had with this guy, LeBron James guy. She she said that she didn't want Maria Taylor to take her job on the jump or on the NBA sideline job. Maria Taylor, as we know, a younger, I think she's 34, attractive African-American, and absolutely ruthless, absolutely cutthroat. She ruined Rachel Nichols' life, essentially, because Rachel Nichols said that Maria Taylor, she suggested that Maria Taylor was getting promoted, was getting advanced because she's a minority, which is a fact. So Rachel Nichols stated a fact in a private conversation, and for that, they destroyed her. They took her show off the air. She will not be doing anything else on the air. She has like a year left on her contract, and they're just going to keep her on the sidelines and pay her because she suggested that maybe Maria Taylor, a young, attractive African-American, was getting opportunities because of wokeness, because of because they wanted to promote, they wanted the face of ESPN to be an African-American. There's others, there's not just her. I mean, there are shows that have no white people on them and no, old people. There's just no room for that anymore. You got to be young and black, and that's the way ESPN wants it. And they're not even hiding it. Rachel Nichols spoke in a private conversation, and that was enough to destroy her. Just say, you're done. It's amazing. But I was just reading over the transcript when we were playing the sound from the conversation she had with this LeBron James guy. What's his name? Mendelsohn. We can play it. It's not really clear, and then I could tell you exactly what she said that essentially got her fired by ESPN. Let's hear this real inflammatory, incendiary conversation she had, which was recorded and then leaked to the media by somebody doing Maria Taylor's bidding.
But they are feeling pressure because of all of that, and I'm trying to figure out how to just, my thing is that I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football, she covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about you're the crappy long-time record on diversity, which by the way I myself know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just find it somewhere else.
Screw her. You know what? She deserves it with that last find it somewhere else. Basically, I'm perfectly okay with race-based hiring and women power. I'm all sure, replace it. We should have quotas for women, but just not at my expense. Screw her. I have no sympathy for her.
I'm not sympathizing with her. I'm saying that is what gets you fired now. She said she wished Maria Taylor well. If you need to give her more things to do because of your crappy record, because you're feeling pressure because of your crappy record on diversity. She says, which I personally know from the female side of it. I'm not sympathizing with her. She says, go for it. Just find it somewhere else.
Who recorded that? The other guy, Mendelsohn?
No, they fired the person that recorded it. Someone back at ESPN, I guess in Bristol.
Who was that on her cell phone? She was on her, they're recording her cell phone conversations?
No, I think it was a Zoom call or whatever. I don't know why. Somebody at ESPN that was helping out Maria Taylor and didn't like Rachel Nichols recorded it. And I forget the name, but the person who did it got fired.
In a sane world, Gerry, we would be concerned about the civil liberties aspects of this, in which your private conversations are now being broadcasted to the world. People would actually care about that if they had principles, but they don't.
Well, it goes to wiretapping laws, and it protects people. That protects people like you who are doing investigative reporting. Like if you wanted to call someone but not identify who you were, you could record them.
When we call up people and we have them on the show, we have to say, you're live. We have to let you know. If we don't tell you that, then we are wiretapping you because we're actually recording it on YouTube. It's against the law. You can get federal charges for that.
But they leaked it. The government's not involved here. They leaked it to the New York Times.
Someone taped it. Someone taped it.
I believe. Well, we can get you the answer to that, Turtle. It's someone at ESPN. They caught her. It was a woman. They fired her. If you give me a second, I could get you the name if that's really concerning to you. But what does it matter?
If that was in court, that evidence would be thrown out. Like we should pretend like we never heard that because of the manner in which we heard it. See what I'm saying? Like nobody in the just world, that's what would happen.
Okay, I guess we just look at this totally differently.
Yeah.
What did she say that was wrong? Forget fireable. What did she just said? I wish her well. She's going to get plenty of opportunities. She's just not taking my job. The amazing thing is, if that's me or you or anyone else, that would be 100 times worse. You'd be swearing, first of all. You'd be saying, F her. I mean, she was perfectly restrained and reasonable. I don't have sympathy because you're right. She's complaining about the diversity hiring. That's all they do is diversity hiring. They don't hire. I mean, any old white guy, Ed, what's his name? The football guy, Ed Werder, is still there. I saw him the other day. I said, how the hell is he still on that? He's an old white guy. How have they not gotten rid of him? There's a purge. I mean, they're getting rid of anybody. Mike Golick and Trey Wingo and all these people have been kicked out the door for young minorities. They want to change the face of ESPN completely. She's talking about it matter-of-factly, and she says nothing inaccurate, nothing wrong, nothing. And she's fired. That to me is the story, not the fact that some weasel at ESPN, some underling who didn't like her, leaked it to the New York Times.
Well, okay, so it's the way that she said it. She said what we're thinking in a nicer, more presentable way, right? The lesson here is don't waste your time being nice and presentable. Just be abrasive. That's Trumpism. Like Trump was just like, screw it. I'm not being George Bush. I'm not being any of these guys who tries to be respectable. I'm just going to piss you off and I don't give a shit. And that's the way more people should be. Rachel Nichols is the perfect example of that. She's obviously thinking what we're thinking. And a lot of people are thinking. She attempted to say it in a nice and respectable way, and she ended up in the same position. So
by the way, Maria Taylor went to NBC after this real contentious negotiation went on forever. We kept talking about it, reading about it. Most people don't even know who she is, and she wanted $8 million a year. I don't know what she got from NBC, but she's gone. Rachel Nichols is gone, and it'll be, I think it's Malika, whatever her name is, Malika Andrews.
That's what they want.
It was like 24. She's 24, 25. That's what they want. There is no room at the end here for the Caucasians. And when you think of how this, again, if it went in reverse, like say Max Kellerman forced Stephen A. Smith off the show because he didn't like him, and then they replaced him with a bunch of white friends of Max Kellerman, that'd be the biggest story in the country. It'd be huge. It'd be, racism rears its ugly head. But it's okay for Stephen A. to get rid of the white guy. And I have no sympathy. I can't stand Max Kellerman. It's amazing to me that Stephen A. wants him off when Max Kellerman's as liberal as much of a race baiter as Stephen A., probably worse, but it's not enough. If you're, I don't know what it takes to survive as a white guy at ESPN, but it wasn't enough. Max Kellerman being a race baiting liberal a-hole wasn't enough. But if it went in reverse, how big a deal would that be? Max Kellerman forces Stephen A. off the show because he doesn't like him and has his all bunch of white buddies on in place of him. It'd be huge. It'd be nuts. Or if they got rid of the black reporter, not Rachel Nichols, got rid of the black reporter because, she said something on a private conversation. That would never happen. It is amazing that the lack of real diversity at ESPN. They want everyone to look the same, sound the same, believe the same. There's absolutely no room for a Will Cain. Will Cain can't, they want to get rid of him because I don't know. He didn't hate Trump. That's a deal breaker. If you don't hate Trump, you're gone.
Well, ESPN's bleeding out, so that's the good thing. It's like most people don't like to watch stuff like this. That's so one-sided. So they're going down anyway.
Why is that a good news? Are you suggesting ESPN could go out of business?
Oh, eventually, yeah, or be so small and so irrelevant.
They're owned by Disney. They're never going anywhere.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They'll just be less and less relevant, and it doesn't. Yeah, so Disney won't go out of business, but they might do something else with the network, or they'll just be so irrelevant because no one's watching. It just who watches ESPN anymore? I used to watch.
They're already there. Yeah,
right, exactly. But I used to watch like MLB Tonight, all that stuff.
Me too. Like it was like a regular thing. Like when I was in college, you just throw ESPN on. It was the default channel. Right. Listen to Kornheiser and Wilbon argue, and then round the horn. That was like a typical day. I couldn't even tell you the last time I put it.
Me neither.
I don't either. But Stephen A makes $12 million a year, so they still have revenue. They're a cable channel that you pay for it every time you pay your cable bill. A percentage goes to them. Like we talked about Fox News, they want they always pressure the advertisers of Tucker or Hannity to bail on them, and they succeed because that's these corporations are gutless, and now half the commercials are either Mike Lindell or something to suck the earwax out of your ear. They don't have a lot of
God.com. Are you heaven or not.com? That was a commercial I saw the other day.
And the media matters, and the rest of those scumbags think they're really making a difference, but they're not, because the revenue Fox News gets from cable, the cable fees is over I believe $1 billion a year, so they can afford to pay Tucker to put up the big ratings, even if the gutless corporations bail under pressure from these scumbag activists. But anyway, I got to move on here because two things I want to get to.
Before you do that, can you hit Shay? Sorry about that.
All right, we will hit Shay and whatever else we got, and then we will get to these. We'll get to the greatest tweet ever, and we'll get to a reason to watch Lester Holt tonight. Lester Holt, my old partner Dino used to watch Lester Holt every night. In fact, Dino got kicked off of Twitter for mocking Lester Holt. He would watch him every night and mock him. And I guess he went too far one night, and that's how he lost his Twitter account, mocking Lester Holt. But I'm going to be watching Lester tonight, and I will tell you why after I tell you about Shea Concrete. All right, before I get to what Lester Holt's got tonight, I got to get to the greatest tweet ever, and it's from Greg Kelly from Newsmax, who's a great follow on Twitter. He's kind of funny and weird and wacky, but he and I kind of was not surprised, but he mentioned the other day that two of the real bright lights in the Biden administration, Mark Milley and Rachel Levine, General Milley and Rachel Levine, the assistant health secretary, the lovely Rachel Levine, transgender individual, and Milley, this woke general who, brags about reading Ibrahim Kendi. He doesn't read any of the intelligence out of Afghanistan, but he's busy reading Robin DiAngelo. Well, Greg Kelly points out that they went to high school together, and then he takes it a step further. Rachel Levine and Mark Milley were teammates on the football team at Belmont Hill. And he's got the picture from high school yearbook of the two of them. And Rachel Levine, she's was not a particularly attractive male in her younger days, before she transitioned. And Milley, who had a little fuzzy mustache, looks like a football player. And now I believe that was 77 or 76. And now whatever we are, how many years later would that be? 45 years later, the two of them are together serving Joe Biden in the Biden administration. But if you haven't seen it, I retweeted or I tweeted out the picture, the before and after of Milley and Levine. And I've yet to hear, I was trying to find out how the team was, how good they were, the Belmont Hill football team with these two. I assume they're both linemen. They look like linemen, but maybe they were right next to each other, tackle and guard. But anyway, let's get to Lester Holt and why I'm going to be watching tonight. Have you heard this, Turtleboy?
I have not heard it.
Lester Holt tonight, the shooter, the murderer, the man who killed Ashley Babbitt is going to reveal himself on Lester Holt on NBC tonight. which is amazing.
Oh, this is fun.
This is obviously, we talk a lot about the double standard and what, you can be an Antifa or BLM, you can burn police stations down, or the leader of the Proud Boys is doing 5 months in prison for burning a BLM flag.
It was a little more than that. He also had a gun with him. Yes, the bigger crime was the flag. I agree.
The flag, of course, and which is unusual because who knew that burning flags was illegal? I thought it was constitutionally protected speech, but
only if it's an American flag, Jerry.
Every day you see what Antifa does in Portland. Every day they get arrested. They're out 10 minutes later. The January 6th, you had grandmothers taking selfies on the Capitol Hill steps, and they're still in solitary. So it is the greatest, the most glaring example of a double standard ever. January 6th versus the year-long insurrection from BLM and Antifa. But this case is perhaps the most disturbing. And we all saw some of the video. Ashley Babbitt, she shouldn't have been doing what she was doing. She was trying to climb through a window. She was unarmed. She's a woman. She's a protester. She tried to climb through a window, and the response from the cop was to shoot her in the throat. There was other cops right around her, armed. The protesters were unarmed. Can you imagine if this were a BLM protester, protesting whatever, trying to climb through a window, I don't know, of a courthouse in Portland or a Bloomingdale's in New York City, and a cop shot her in the throat, and she had no weapons.
Could he not say freeze, don't move? I mean, hands up. What happened to hands up, don't shoot?
He had to know she was unarmed, so the response of her trying to climb through a window
even
was
if she
to
was
shoot
armed,
her dead.
Even if she was armed, the correct response from the police is still freeze, don't move. You have to give them a chance to surrender. A chance. She was not given a chance to surrender, and it's absolutely insane.
I don't know. If someone's breaking into my home, I don't think I'm giving them a chance. I'm going to shoot first.
You're saying your home.
This wasn't your home. This was the people's house. It was during the day. He could see her.
Still a property right.
And by the way, there were people all around her. It was like the most irresponsible thing, including cops. There were cops right behind her. This guy's shooting into the crowd. The point is the double standard is amazing.
Double standard, I 100% agree with. 100% agree with the double standard. I just think from a principle standpoint, if someone's breaking in, you get to shoot.
So why was she the only one shot? Why didn't there was hundreds of people?
I agree. I mean,
they were all around her. Why was she the only one shot?
I don't know.
Because she was the only one going through the window.
But they were all trying to get through that. But she was leading the charge.
First one, and they're like, "Okay, if you come in, we're going to shoot you."
They climbed through all kinds of windows. You saw it. They climbed through they broke all kinds.
Yeah.
Of windows.
Okay. So I've been told that that window, that hallway, was directly to the house. That's what I'm told. The House of Representatives, and they were whatever, but still freeze. What happened to freeze?
Yeah. And I agree that the standard should be higher for police. Like they should resort to violence actually even less often than me and my own property does. I 100% agree with that. I just
and by the way, every time a cop, the cop in Columbus, Ohio, who saved a young black woman, saved her life. We knew who he was. 10 minutes later, LeBron James doxed him, put a target on his back. The cops who justifiably shot Jacob Blake because he was trying to escape. He had a weapon, kids in the car. He's trying to get in the car and drive off with children. Obviously there were no charges, but we knew who those cops were 10 minutes later. We still don't know who this guy is. We're going to find out tonight, and Lester Holt will work the shaft and make every excuse in the world for him. But just in theory, we have a cop shooting an unarmed protester, a veteran, a woman. And everyone said, yeah, she deserved it. She had a red hat on, and she was trying to climb through a window. She deserved it.
She's a terrorist. The terrorist.
The people we've seen, they burned a police station to the ground in Minneapolis, and the cops ran. They ran away. They tried to block the exits. No one got shot. And if they did get shot, you know what, people, every damn Democrat media, everyone in the media would be screaming, did you have to shoot them? They were unarmed. This case, everybody except, Julie Kelly, the one person that covers this, everyone just says, yeah, she shouldn't have been there. Go ahead, tweet about it right now. Tweet anything about Ashley Babbitt, and half your responses will be, she deserved it. An unarmed protester. So we can shoot unarmed protesters in the throat now, as long as they got red hats on, or as long as they are Donald Trump supporters. It's amazing, but it's going to be frustrating. I'm looking forward to seeing the guy because
Are they suing? Is her family suing?
I believe they are. I believe they're certainly looking for answers. Why is this guy protected? Cops
Do they have a lawyer?
people.
Do they have a lawyer? Like, why don't they have a really aggressive attorney out there, like a conservative attorney? Where's Lynn Wood? Is he still looking for ballots? Why isn't there some crazy conservative?
I don't think Lynn Wood has the credibility anymore.
Somebody, like, where's like Harmeet, like one of these like outspoken conservative lawyers?
They do. They have a lawyer.
Why aren't they going after like the Capitol Police and suing them?
It's going to be, obviously this is PR. Obviously Lester Holt will be there to help this guy. It's A-okay to shoot unarmed protesters now, and as long as they're on the other side. So NBC and Lester Holt, they know their job is to help this guy through a difficult time. He shot an unarmed woman in the throat, and they, want to be there to console him. But it is amazing. People who aren't reading about January 6th, they don't care. They aren't reading the way these people have been treated. It is frightening. It is frightening. These are political prisoners, and some, Viking man still in solitary confinement in a DC prison for what he did on January 6th. It is now almost September, and this guy who's obviously a little unbalanced mentally is still in solitary. For what? He didn't commit any violence. He didn't hit anyone. He didn't hurt anyone. He didn't have any weapons. He just wore a freaking stupid hat, painted his face, and walked, and was let into the Senate chambers. And he's still in solitary, and nobody cares. It's remarkable. But anyway, before we go, I want to wish good luck to my friend Big O. Glenn Ordway retires today after 50 years in the business. This is his last day. It's like his third retirement. But I think this one's going to stick. He's 70, and I think he's moving at least part-time to Arizona, which is good. But Glenn was a huge figure in the Boston sports talk radio, as you guys know. I think he was, I've said it before, the most important guy in the history of Boston sports talk radio. Had the highest rated show by far, the Big Show back in the day. And, what he did was broke the mold. He broke all the rules. They talked over each other. They made fun of each other. They didn't do boring interviews every segment and talk about, the bullpen. And it worked. And he changed the way a lot of us did radio, gave me a chance, gave just about everyone who's made any money in the business owes Glenn, because Glenn was always willing to let other people, be the star, or, share the ball and make other people look good. And he's walking away, and it tells you all you need to know. This, everybody is, wishing him well. They're having a big party. When I left, they gave me one paragraph in a press release.
Yes, they did.
That was it.
But you got a blog on Turtleboy, so
that's true.
Who really won? Yeah. I accidentally turned on WEI yesterday, and I heard Andy Gresh's voice for about 5 seconds, and I'm like, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Dale Arnold is better than someone at their job. And it's just, that guy sounds like he's always eating sausage. He really sounds like he's just constantly winded. Why would they hire that guy? What is wrong with that?
I don't know. I swear to God, I went cold turkey more than the end of 2019. I haven't listened in over a year and a half, not a minute. I say that to Glenn when I've talked to him.
That guy killed Zolak's ratings to the point where they fired him, got rid of him. And WEI's like, you know what? Dale's pretty bad. Let's get that guy. People need Gresh. They need Gresh in their lives right now. Instead of, somebody new, you could actually try. They're like, nah, bring in Gresh. Gresh will fix things.
I've told this story before, but when they sat Minahan and me down, they were upset about something we did, or someone was Red Sox, or somebody was complaining. They literally said, we don't care about ratings. We don't want any more trouble. And I'll never forget it. I said, excuse me, what did you just say? You don't care about ratings? We didn't believe them at the time. We thought they were just trying to, put us in our place. But they would tell this. The guy who said it was the biggest liar in the company. That guy was telling the truth. They don't care about ratings. They just don't want any trouble, and they're not getting any trouble, and they're being as boring and as lifeless as you could be. But nobody's complaining. Nobody's harassing their advertisers. The Globe doesn't write about them anymore. That's what they wanted, Turtleboy.
We got to find some old tweets. Let's get on that. Does Rich Keefe have any old tweets? We got to find some old tweets. That's
Right. They got a new program director who wants to make sure they stick to sports, because he literally said people come to the station because they want to hear what Andy Gresh has to say about the Patriots. And I guess he may be right. There's just not that many people doing that. So that to me would be a problem. But again, they don't care about ratings, and it shows. And
do we know who's taking over for Ordway? Is it just going to be the two left?
Nope. In fact, I was talking to Reamer the other day. Reamer,
Tim Benz, Mike Salk, they around? That's usually the plan.
My guess is there'll be pressure for it to be a woman, a minority, some kind of woke deal. Reamer thinks that they're just going to have nobody. Let Fourier and Merloni do it. Save money. Maybe
they need a quarterback though. Like neither of those guys is the quarterback for the show. Every show.
Yeah, well, again, they don't care about the quality of the show. They just don't want any trouble. That's all they care about. They don't want the Red Sox to get mad at them, because that's really important. Because the Red Sox are the biggest anchor around their necks, and they still defer. They still listen to whatever the Red Sox say. I mean, the Red Sox ratings are dreadful. They're awful. No one's listening to the Red Sox anymore, but it doesn't matter. The owner, the CEO of the company, idolizes John Henry, and that's all that matters. And he still thinks people care about the Red Sox. But good luck to Big O as he steps away. I believe this time for good, for real.
We got to get him on here, Jerry. We got to get him on the show.
I could do that. Why? Well, actually, he's still going to do like post-game Patriot shows or something, I guess. I don't know why, but
it's like a battered woman. Stop it, Big O. Just leave.
I don't know why he's doing that, but I could get him on. But he doesn't. He's not going to, he's not going to fire any shots back at the EEI. There's no way. It's not his style. But anyway, congratulations to you, Turtleboy. You remain undefeated in court earlier this week. I believe you
like that.
You were live tweeting from court, ripping the judge from your seat in the courtroom, which is pretty good, I have to admit.
Well, I was online courtroom, but
it was a she or he?
It was a he this time. The she was the one that screwed up and gave the unconstitutional order in the first place. He overdid it. So I don't know if that's mansplaining or not, but it was a very entertaining day in court. I'll tell you that much.
And you won, and you are undefeated. You've never been defeated.
We counted it. We're 19-0 and counting right now.
19. And this was someone took a restraining order against you?
A restraining order. This is the new thing that they try to do, not sue you, is just get an order against you to stop you from blogging about them. And it's worked several times to get these temporary orders. And then you just go in there and you go full Perry Mason on their ass, and then I leave with another victory. No big deal.
And I know you experience this more than anyone. It's amazing how many people don't understand the First Amendment, don't understand.
It's scary. It is scary, including judges. For a judge to put an order on you and say, you can't talk about this person, and not even think about the constitutional implications of that. And that, maybe I can't do this. That's the scary part. Just random yahoos, whatever. It's when judges and people with institutional power start doing it that you should start to become very worried.
The Surgeon General, this new Surgeon General, said the other day in an interview, says, you don't have the right in this country to spread disinformation.
Yes, you do. You do.
And I was like, this guy's a Surgeon General. This guy went to school for like 100 years. He's supposed to be really, really smart. That is just stupid. Imagine thinking you don't have a right. Like, what are you going to do? That spreading, someone lied to their neighbor. Let's arrest them. You don't have a right to spread. You have an absolute unconditional right to spread misinformation, Dr. Idiot. But anyway, congratulations. You won again. You remain undefeated. That's a good thing. You and the country, America, the Constitution won. And we're not yet Australia or New Zealand. Not yet. But it's coming. Good luck at the first day of school. Going maskless. I hope you get arrested and you make national news and become a martyr, because
will do.
Yeah, that'd be good for business.
That would be good for business. Yeah.
Good luck with it, Turtleboy. I don't envy you, man. I don't envy you. That is, he's going to take his first grader to school, and hope they don't force the child to obstruct her breathing for 8 hours a day. That is just.
She might. I mean, she might because she's a sheep. She'll just do whatever. I mean, she's 6. She hasn't learned how to rebel yet, so we'll get there eventually.
But you will be rebelling, and we'll be following that. And will you be blogging about it?
I'm sure I'll have some things to say on the live show tonight.
Excellent. Thanks to Turtleboy, and thanks to everybody for listening and watching and commenting. Anything good on the comment line today, Carano?
I don't want to rehash. It's been so much. I've been back and forth with them all day.
Have you really? I'm not even.
I'm multitasking here. I have intelligent conversations with you and Turtleboy while talking to the commenters, while researching stuff, while making sure the sound is good. I am really a Renaissance man, Gerry.
All right, we have lots of stuff on the horizon here. Lots of stuff we're working on. I can't even get into it, but today's kind of a big day for the Gerry Callahan show. Carano was working his ass off trying to make a transition to, another phase, which we will get into next week. We can't talk about it yet, right, Carano? We don't want to screw this up. Screw this up. We can't talk about it yet, but we will be talking about it next week. Some exciting things happening here in our little world, but we'll tell you all about it next week. Stay with us. Are we going to be working on this today when we wrap this sucker up?
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah.
Ooh, this is going to be good. But come back next week, and we'll tell you all about it. All right. We will leave it there. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again real soon.